everyone, today I've got your Iron Man 3 movie review. Robert Downey Jr. reunites with Kiss Kiss Bang Bang director Shane Black in this third installment to Iron Man. When I first saw the trailer, I was so excited to see this because it looked as if they were going in a totally different direction with this movie. It had a more somber tone to it, and maybe darker, but not as dark like The Dark Knight Rises. In comparison to the first two films, it just looked completely different, which I found really intriguing. This movie takes place after the events of the Avengers, and Tony Stark seems to have had enough with being suited character Iron Man, and he's just waiting for that moment where his friends and family are basically, like, their lives are at stake, especially Pepper Potts, who he has this ongoing relationship with. I found it interesting that they chose to switch gears by going back in time and sort of showing past events that have happened in Tony Stark's life. One in particular was where he meets this new chick named Maya, who's played by Rebecca Hall, and I was like, oh gosh, another love interest. Great, can't wait for that. And then he also meets Aldrich Killian, who's played by Guy Pearce, and he's completely unrecognizable. He just looks like this crazy nerd. He's got this big hair, glasses. It's just totally retro, but it's also trying to be the start of the new millennium. So just found that really crazy. I was also kind of interested to see how Killian was going to play out, because he just had this sort of like disposition, just this attitude towards Tony Stark where he just like wants to tell him all these things. It's kind of like the crazy scientist, like, I have this new idea, I really want you to hear it. Just all forceful. Like, I was like, dude, just don't even stand in the way of the elevator. Don't want that business. After that happens, you go back, flying back to the present day, and a whole bunch of stuff has apparently happened. All these attacks that are going on, and it seems to be because the person that is behind these attacks is called the Mandarin, who is played by Ben Kingsley. Now, when I heard that he was going to be playing this role, I didn't really know what to think at first. I mean, he's like an incredible actor, I'll give you that. When the first trailer to Iron Man 3 came out and I heard his voice, I was just like, I'm sold. This sounds completely legit and something I wouldn't expect him to do. He kind of had this way about him of being sort of like a dictator type person, so I mean, it was pretty legit. When Iron Man seems to be out of the game and Tony Stark wants to find out who the Mandarin is, like he just has to go back to square one, and he has to fly across the US, just like go coast to coast, so that he can track this guy down, because I mean, he's apparently responsible for all these deaths and just explosions and stuff. And this is actually where I kind of got lost in the story just a bit. Tony, he meets this kid. I mean, he looks kind of smart. I mean, obviously he's totally like a fanboy to Iron Man, because he knows who he is. I mean, who doesn't know who Iron Man is? He's sort of like this kid, just like comes out of the blue and just helps Tony to find out who the Mandarin is. And because the Mandarin has done some pretty bad things, one of which is being behind an attack that caused Tony's like best friend security guy, Happy Hogan, played by Jon Favreau, basically got injured. He fell victim to the attack and had to get put in the hospital. It was pretty bad. This particular segment, that whole scene, that whole attack scene, reminded me of The Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. If you've seen it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Everybody, like, seemed like all these different people, they just had, like, this, like, fire in them or something. Like, they were just, like, turning all red, and they looked like a volcano waiting to explode, I'm just saying. They just looked like they had this, like, internal fire, and it's just crazy, and they looked like they were about to burst. If you have played Mass Effect, or if you've seen certain elements of Mass Effect, the game, there's a character, you can create a character with like red eyes, so like the attackers in this movie kind of looked like that, so I was just like, oh my god, this looks absolutely freaky, and I don't know what's going on here. And apparently these guys are the result of a program that was created called Extremis, which has all these guys who like were treated for these like different ailments that they had. Another character you can't forget is Rhodey. Don Cheadle's coming back, and he is the new and improved War Machine, aka Iron Patriot. Use Iron Patriot as setting a good example for the people and trying to help them out in the process. I thought his character was pretty badass. I mean, of course, who doesn't love Don Cheadle? I mean, he's pretty awesome, coming back again for a second time. I would have actually loved to have seen Iron Patriot a little bit more, because I know, like, he can be pretty awesome. Even though he does show up again later on in the movie, I just think a little bit more. Would have loved to see it. There are a few scenes in the movie that I thought really stood out to me, one of which would have to be the airplane attack scene where Air Force One is just going down. It is crazy, and Iron Man has to go rescue all these people that are like getting thrown out of the airplane. It's like 20 or 30 people, I don't know, and he's basically telling them like, you gotta stick together and all that stuff. So I thought like that shot was pretty cool, really executed properly. I liked was when Pepper Potts, and I didn't think that this was going to happen, but it did, and she actually gets put in the Iron Man suit. I was like, wow, now that's the real Iron Lady right there. I just thought that was pretty awesome, even though she didn't really do much in the suit, but I mean, you can't deny that she looked pretty good. Speaking of the suits, Tony Stark definitely has a new array of like gadgets in this movie, just upgraded technology to the max. It's more holographic stuff, and there's more suits. And I thought, wow, that is a lot of suits. What is he gonna do with them? Eventually does bring those bad boys out. Shit hits the fan. It gets really crazy. I'm just like, ah! You can actually like remote control suits, so he doesn't actually have to be in the suit. So I thought that was really cool. It's like, you know, like you go fly around somewhere. I just thought that was pretty awesome. There were a couple on the edge of your seat moments, and I won't really give away what that would be because that'd be a spoiler, and it involves one of the main characters. That's all I'm gonna say. I would say that there were a few negative things about this movie that I didn't really like, and I just found them really annoying. Even though this movie is one of, you know, even though my favorite Iron Man movie just happened to be the first one, I just found that this movie really lacked the same comedic moments that the first two had, and I just felt like it was really forced, and the characters, they just seemed to just be doing them for the hell of it, especially with Robert Downey Jr. playing Tony Stark. I just felt that his character, I mean, even though he's supposed to be this like really arrogant sort of playboy, you know, billionaire philanthropist, whatever, I just felt like, I mean, he didn't really bring enough to the character that I thought he, you know, would have in the previous films, and I just found it a little bit too much of the same thing. But I did really like the fact that his character sort of like showed that sentimentality, and especially when he had to deal with all these like personal problems of his and had to like stop trying to be obsessive with his work and his suits and all that stuff. So it was just trying to break from that moment, and I mean, of course, who doesn't love Robert Downey Jr. being fine? I mean, he was actually like the best part of the Avengers. That's all I'm gonna say about that. I feel like for like standalone movie, I just feel like you know, his character has definitely run its course. I also feel that like there's, I mean, I wouldn't say this is kind of a spoiler, but I mean, it shouldn't be, because I said there wasn't gonna be any spoilers, but there is kind of a twist that totally ruined the movie for me. I feel like, in my opinion, it just felt a little bit rushed. At first I was like, wait, what is going on? So I just had this like frown on my face. I was like, what is going on? What is this? Like, why is this happening? And I was kind of disappointed because I really didn't want it to happen. I'm kind of mad about that. I'd say stay. I mean, of course, with any of the other previous Marvel movies that you've seen that are coming out, there's always going to be a post-credit scene, so definitely stay for that, because there is one, and I mean, it's definitely a no-brainer. So, just a little heads up for you guys. Overall, I would say this movie was a bit of a letdown. I mean, I was really hyped for this movie, and I was debating whether or not I was going to see it. I mean, I was definitely sold by the trailer, especially because of the tone that it seemed to be going in, but I feel like as soon as I saw the movie, it didn't really own up to how they were setting up the movie with the trailer and all that. which is why you can't always trust trailers when you are about to see a movie. It definitely turned out nothing that I expected it to be, and I feel like it could have been a little bit better. And if there are any plans to make a fourth movie, I just think you should just let it go down the drain. It's just going to be a big mistake, and I think you should just leave it up to focusing on the Avengers 2, which hopefully will be good. If you are a fan of Iron Man, I would say go see this movie so that you can judge for yourself if you like it or not. And if you have seen Iron Man 3, let me know in the comments what you guys think of it. And as always, you guys can subscribe to my channel. I've got more movie reviews, movie updates, come back every week for a Thursday video. You guys can also like me on Facebook and follow me on Twitter, and I will see you guys later.